Welcome to Karen's Conversations, number 27. They're certainly tripping over themselves at the moment, which is great. And I'm very excited today to be talking to Louis Spence. I've known for quite a long time now. I'm not sure how many years, but we go back a few. And Louis is the State Account Director at Ranstad Recruitment. And with so much going on in the world of IT, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk to Louis about how do people win in the IT market today. So before we get into that, I'm going to welcome Louis and give us a bit of background about you, Louis.
Thanks for the Cass for the invite to the Karen's Conversations. Really appreciate that, and I'm not sure how long we've known each other for, but it's been a fair amount of time, and yeah, thanks for the invite. I suppose background to me, I've been in Melbourne for 10 years next year, and I was thinking about this prior to the conversation and thought, wow, 10 years has gone pretty quickly. But I've actually been in recruitment since 1998, so next year will be 20 years in recruitment. I think you get less for murder. But yeah, I've been in the profession a long time, so I've seen lots of things come and go. I did a degree originally in 1996, I graduated, and it was a BSc Business Informatics. So it was, you know, technology combined with business. And I think really after doing that degree, I decided that I wasn't a programmer. You know, I wasn't into Java or C# or C++ back then. I can raw code in HTML, but I didn't really fancy stuck in front of a computer doing programming, which some of my peers and colleagues back at university did. And I'm more sort of gregarious, so I kind of fell into the sales side of it. So really since, you know, 1998, I've done recruitment. I started off on client side. So I was actually sort of a resource manager for a big utility provider, and I worked there for about a year. And after that, one of the agencies that I was working with said, you know, why don't you come work for us, you know, on the agency side. And back in 1998, 99, there was a lot of money to be made in recruitment in those days. Big margins, lots of contractors, and you know, the Y2K bug had a lot of people fearful for what was going to happen in the market. So there was lots of opportunity. So I kind of caught it really at the right time, caught the dot-com boom in 2000, 2001. Everyone wanted a website, everyone wanted a shopping cart, everyone wanted Java. And I started doing Java development recruitment to start off, really. That was my key area, and was very successful. Enjoyed doing it, meeting people, placing people in jobs, placing contractors, placing permies. And that's kind of how I got into it. Did that in the UK for a firm called Computer People, which is one of the sort of the big IT recruiters, up until about 2005. And then 2005 got offered a role with a company called Consulting Point, doing management consulting recruitment. So I was doing management consulting recruitment for the likes of Deloitte, Capgemini, PA Consulting Group, Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, so some of the tier one niche recruitment, tier niche consulting companies even, and that's kind of did that for about 3 years, and then got tapped on the shoulder to come and work in Melbourne. So I got offered the job in 2007, and waited for my visa to come through. You know, Englishman's favourite numbers, 457, or work. Melbourne Turnbull changed it. So yeah, got the opportunity to come over here, and here I am in sunny Melbourne. I'm in the Ranstad boardroom at the moment. You probably can't see the sun, but it's actually quite sunny here in Melbourne today.
Yeah, so we are lucky today.
Yeah, a potted history to me, I suppose. So I've been in recruitment a long time, been in Melbourne 10 years.
No, that's great. Now, just bear with me. Back here, so I'm just going to fix my sound.
So I can hear you okay.
All right. Okay, let's see if that works. So 10 years, what differences have you seen over those 10 years? How does IT look today than it did, you know, 5, 10 years ago?
Well, I just think, look, I've worked hard over the 10 years I've been in Melbourne, and throughout my career to sort of build that relationship and build that network, and obviously meeting people like yourself is part of that. You know, you get to lots of networking functions and events. You meet people when you try and add value. My philosophy has always been, when you meet a candidate, they're going to become a future client, maybe in 6 months, maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years. But if you treat people with respect, return their calls, return their emails, you know, have coffee with them, And a lot of recruiters out there don't seem to appreciate that, and they just treat candidates as a number and as an applicant. And obviously you can't meet everybody because there's just too many people, but if you try and do that with the mid to senior level candidates, that will come back. So over the last few years, just in terms of technology, things have moved on as they always do. 10 years ago in Melbourne, the landscape was very different. There's a lot of new technology now. Lots of things are in the cloud. Lots of things are off premise. You don't need to have your own data centers. Now with data sovereignty and security now changing, it's a lot easier for companies to set up things in the cloud, put their applications and infrastructure stack in there, and operate anywhere in the world. So you're seeing lots of companies like, obviously Uber is the well-known one, on Facebook. I think Facebook was probably 10 years old. So 10 years ago, Facebook wasn't around. So now, when I just look around in general, look at these millennials, they're all on their iPhones, they're all on their Androids or iPads, not looking where they're going. They're kind of, looking on Instagram. It's just a completely different market now. So technology's really moved on. And I think most of my clients now are viewing technology as a real enabler. Businesses now talk about, everyone talks about digital disruption, but the big banks at the moment, the 4 banks in Australia, eventually Google or Apple are going to set up a bank. It's just a matter of time, I think, before one of those big American corporations or a new entry sets up a new, there's lots of peer-to-peer banking products available now on apps. So I think the market's moving, and obviously when we have companies looking for recruits, they're looking for completely different skills, completely different technologies now compared to what they were 10 years ago. So, there's still opportunities in Australia, but that people looking at cloud or managed service provider to outsource, business process outsourcing. Why do it ourselves? Why have a team of 50 or 100 IT engineers when we can outsource that to a company for a lot less cost? And that's not our core business. Our core business is providing a product or a service. So if we're doing marketing, why have a big marketing department? We just have a CMO and a few people, and then we outsource and we use Salesforce to get close to our customers. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in the market and how it's changed over the past few years.
So does that mean that we're seeing the technical side of IT, so the programmers or infrastructure people, going to those outsourcers, and sort of IT retaining, sort of where I come from, the service management, customer service type roles, and be the pure service provider with all that technical stuff behind it?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a real change. I mean, my personal view is the future of the CIO is not a technical propeller head. Some organisations say, we want someone technical. That's changing because you don't need to be vendors and suppliers, managed service providers that are doing infrastructure, applications, digital. You don't need that technical proficiency anymore. You don't need to be able to configure a router or set up a Microsoft Windows server or Exchange server. It's more about managing the outsource provider or vendor to do that. So I think we're seeing a change, and particularly around your area of expertise at Macanta and what you do, Kaz. They want people that can look at the SLAs and the KPIs around service management, around we've outsourced this, we've saved some money, but it's all very well saving money, but if the service isn't there, then it doesn't matter how much you save because you're not getting the service to the customer. So the ITSM principles around SLAs, KPIs, around making it happen, you've still got to be there to make sure that the service is there for your own customer on site. So I think the landscape's changing in terms of what clients are looking for now in terms of a CIO or service delivery manager or similar.
Cool. And what are some of the, we were talking about some of the trends, we're hearing terms like, digital and transformation and disruption and lean and agile and scrum, and you could go on forever, all the new shiny things we talked about a month or so ago. What are the trends that you're seeing coming out of the market?
Well, I agree with all that, but almost, if I go back to 1998, 1999, it's the same things, but with different names. They were talking about, infrastructure as a service, IaaS, application as a service, things that were on tap, and it's almost, the market's matured now, so people do have mobile devices and people do have different ways of delivery, but it's the same things that people were talking about back in the dot-com boom 2000, 2001, that now the infrastructure, the application stack and cloud has matured. You know, data sovereignty is not an issue or so much of an issue. Security, albeit with things in the press recently, is not so much of an issue. So people are more likely to move to those. But look, I remember working on roles back in 2001, 2002, which were agile roles, you know, XP, extreme programming. You know, agile, a lot of people are talking about agile and digital is new. It's actually been around for 20 years. You know, agile's been around for a long, long time. But people are just, you know, starting to sort of say, you know, this is a quicker way of working. I know in the last few months, the CEO, Shane Elliott of ANZ Bank, has come out saying we're moving ANZ to an agile methodology, you know, because it works. Well, can you really move all your big infrastructure and your old legacy systems to agile? In practice, I don't really think you can. And the people I speak with at large organizations say, look, it's all very well in theory talking about agile and digital, you know, agile in digital, but can you really do it, you know, not really to 100%. So I think organizations are looking at agile because they want to get things delivered more quickly and they want to see some bang for the buck. You know, with waterfall projects that take 18 months, you know, you see lots of high profile projects in the press that never really reach fruition because it takes 18 months to, you know, that waterfall to get through. So it's very easy for a business to say, let's move to agile and projects will be successful. Everything will work. Our capital expenditure will miraculously, you know, deliver. It doesn't quite work like that. And I think we'll start seeing in the next 6, 12 months that it's not a magic bullet, the same as everything. And again, I know another strength to Mercantor and UCAS is sort of that OCM, organizational change management. You've got to have your change managers aligned with IT. It's all very well implementing a new IT system, but if people don't use it, don't know how to use it, don't know how to get the most from it, if you haven't got that benefits realization, it's just a shiny new product sat on your desktop or in a data center or on the cloud that isn't offering much value. So you've got to link everything together really to make it work.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, over the years, I suppose, you know, I get frustrated when organizations come on the bandwagon and start talking about agile or lean and using the language in totally the wrong way and just not disenfranchised, just upsetting people and disappointing people because we're going to do this new, we're going to save money and it's going to be all exciting, and then it just doesn't happen. And you know, a lot of people listening to this conversation will be saying, because I know they've got a lot of agile people who tune in, will be saying, well, agile's a mindset. It's never been a methodology. It's just a different way of working. So when organisations say we're going to, you know, it's like saying we're implementing ITIL. You know, you can't implement a framework and you can't implement a mindset. So it's an interesting times as people get on board. But yes, OCM, you're right.
That's easy for an organisation to say we're moving to agile and everything will be fine. I think it's a lot more to say it's not just a methodology, it's a mindset, it's a way of working. And for a lot of people, and you'll know this around your OCM skills and experience, that's a complete change in people's mindset. If you've been working in the same way for 20 years doing waterfall, it's a real change and shift in mindset. For most people, though, it's a good change in mindset and it's a good shift into how to do things. And you know, you can see behind you on the board, you've almost got your agile board behind you with your post-it notes and your list of things to do. Yeah. We run our recruitment team now in an agile way. In the morning, we do a scrum. We stand up and we say, what roles have we got? Where are they in the life cycle? Are we at CV submission? Are we at interview stage? Are we at offer stage? And we kind of track them. Are we struggling with CVs? Are we struggling to find candidates? And that's what we use to kind of real visual. We've done it for the past probably 2 or 3 years. It really works well for us to give a real visual on where we're at in the recruitment process and what we can do, how we can, you know, the team around the resources and account managers can help. So yeah. We find it pretty.
I think it's great. A few people have been in the conversation, you know, spotted that behind me, and I just say I think we are digressing, but I think the power is in its simplicity. You know, it's because it's visual. You can just see, and then you can have the conversation going. There is no way we can do everything in the pipeline. We've got to prioritise, and so it's very powerful stuff.
There's only 30 hours in a day.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, so and I think I was at a seminar a few weeks ago, which was run by the Change Management Institute, and talking about change, organisational change in an agile environment. And it was co-hosted by, I'm going to get the name, I'll be in trouble, Allegra Consulting. And I know you know as well. But there was a few people there saying, you know, is that mindset change? Because I sat with a CFO, and he said, I've come along because I am struggling with that mindset change that you can't tell me, not me, but the project team's now doing agile. I can't actually say to him, in 6 months, this is the budget we'll need categorically in 6 months' time, because they actually don't know what they're going to deliver. They've got an idea. And one of the facilitators there also said he was doing work with a very large international university. And he said, getting the heads and the execs or whatever, the faculty heads, whatever, to have the conversation with them and saying, this project or program of work, and it was a big reorg, will probably happen in December. And they're going, no, we need a date and a time. We can't get our heads around this. It'll be a roundabout. So I think it's
the mindset of working in an agile way, it changes. And I think a lot of those, potentially in the university, a lot of those vice chancellors that might be considered old school. It's how they view how things have worked in the past. So it's changing both the mindset of the users and developers and BAs, but also of the actual client, the stakeholders, the stakeholder engagement.
Yeah. So we've sort of touched on in that conversation some of the roles. Which are the big ones that have been sought after at the moment?
Well, look, we've got a team here of 20 at Ranstad Technologies, so I tend to look after the more senior roles like CIO, CTO, General Manager IT, Program Directors, but then our team of account managers split up by industry sector. So different industries look for different things. Certain industries, for example, if it's mining and minerals and resources, they've been having quite a few tough years. So it's probably more about saving money and saving operational costs rather than investing lots. Although BHP and similar are doing a lot of things around driverless vehicles that you see in the press, in the mines over in Perth, etc. So we're seeing a lot of people look for digital type skills like user interface, user experience. We're looking for a lot of people around Adobe Enterprise Manager, AEM. Those type of skills seem to be quite sought after, as well as skills like Salesforce, CRM, which I mentioned before. So they sort of cloud-based CRM systems, so that what can companies do more with their customers? Can they cross-sell to customers or get their customers to buy more high-value items or buy more times? That's the kind of thing that generally the market's looking at, as well as those skills that go along with big projects. So again, it's all right implementing the technology, but you need those change management skills around it to actually make sure that the benefits are realised. That return on investment is actually the bang for the buck is there. And also, again, we touched on it before around ITIL and ITSM. You've outsourced something or you've got a partner to do something, but how do you measure how they deliver it? It's all well saying, well, look, we've saved some money, but are they hitting their KPIs and SLAs? How do you measure that? Well, it's through IT service management. So we're getting a lot of people adopting ServiceNow as their cloud-based system. So before, people were using systems like Remedy and other core logging systems. Now I think ServiceNow has reached that level of maturity. It's in the cloud. It's easy to use. People can add their own APIs and develop the product. You didn't have to wait for a new release, and wait 6 months for a new release of more functionality. Your developers can jump online and create their own API, create something that's bespoke for your company, and it literally can be done within weeks or days. So we're seeing a lot of our customers adopting ServiceNow and these sort of things, and they're the skills that seem to be sought after at the moment.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of requests for ServiceNow people. So, if someone's out there, they're thinking of changing jobs or just thinking of looking around and seeing what's out there, What are some of the best ways you would say that, is it Seek, is it LinkedIn? What would you recommend where people should start?
Well, look, the same with anything in life. There's different channels to market, there's different ways to go. So if you're buying a house, you can go to your agent, or you can go online, or there's various different methods. So, I've written a few down. So obviously Seek is a big one. I think it's the world's most popular job board, but certainly in Australia, it's obviously ASX listed, good success story, because the guys that set that up, it was a startup originally, so that's sort of a big success story. LinkedIn now is sort of trying to wrestle market control, and they've obviously recently been acquired by Microsoft, so now they've got an almost bottomless pit of money to actually put into the new product. So I think we'll see that, and we have seen that, with the jobs that are advertised on LinkedIn now. There's also another one called Apply Direct, and that's almost a job aggregator of where companies are using their systems to put jobs on directly. And then the other channel is myself and the recruitment agency sector, and that's going through some changes, I think, and over the next few years we'll see more changes, which we'll move on to a bit later on with sort of technology and innovation. But I still think, I speak with clients, I speak with candidates, and particularly candidates at a mid to senior level. I say to them, how's your search going? I ask them, and they say, Louis, I've applied on Seek, to an agency or to an end client, and I've just not had a response. I've not had an email back, or I've had an automated email saying we've received your application. But then Seek can be very faceless. There's no telephone number, there might not be a name, it's just job application at abc.com.au. You put your application in, you never hear back, so you don't know if you've been unsuccessful. You've been unsuccessful because you've not been contacted, but you don't know why. So it's, why haven't you been contacted back? It's nice to know. I think the most common thing from candidates is we just didn't hear back. So if you go through a Seek, from a client point of view, it's probably cheaper than an agency fee. But will you get the same caliber of candidates? Seek get a lot of job seekers that just apply for anything because they're potentially desperate for a job or really keen to get a new job. So they'll apply. So I speak with a customer and they might say, Louis, for a CIO role, we've had over 350 applications in a week. And then they've got a new problem, 350 applications in a week, 10 minutes per application, that's actually 2 or 3 weeks worth of calls and emails and going through CVs. Combine that with the fact that if you're a HR person that doesn't really know IT, and IT is a big, it's a big piece, there's lots of different niche markets, there's everything from ITSM through development, testing, infrastructure, project management, program management, and everything in between, all the UI, UX, ServiceNow. The technology is moving so quickly. We've got a team of 20 that spread across different industries, and some of those industries use specific niche skills, technologies, and infrastructure. So it's really difficult to manage those and know their TCP/IP from their DNS, from their WANs and LANs. There's lots of acronyms in IT. So, which is the best way? Obviously, look, got a bit of a bias because I'm in agency land, but I think one of the best ways is to build a relationship with a recruiter. If you build a relationship with a recruiter, so they know who you are, what you do, what you're looking for, then when that role comes up, they will tap you on the shoulder and tell you. And typically, our organisations we work for say, look, the people on Seek, there's 350 people that apply for a CIO role. 50 of them might not even have a visa to work in Australia. The other 50 might currently be a postman or working in a McDonald's that want to be a CIO. And they're obviously very easy to cut out, but that just adds a lot of excess work. So if you build up a strong relationship with a recruiter, they can find out what your strengths are, what roles you want to do. And the majority of senior roles I found these days are sourced through networks and referrals. So I often get called by a CEO or a head of HR saying, Louis, we're looking for, I've got a call the other week from a head of HR. They're looking for a person with really strong infrastructure skills to sort of look at moving their organisation into the cloud. They want someone who can do that. They haven't got those skills internally. Could we help find the right person? We don't want to put it on Seek because if we do, we're going to get hundreds of applicants. We need someone quickly and we need someone that's good. And I knew somebody that I'd spoken with about 3 or 4 months before, kept in touch and just dropped them a line and said, look, I think I found the role for you. sometimes that role happens in a week, sometimes a month. Sometimes, you know, I literally call people 2 years after I've met them, and I look on the database and say, oh, I remember they're French speaking, or they've got a particular skill or experience, and I give them a call and they're like, wow, you met me 2 years ago, and oh yeah, I remember, you know, and we log the details and we give them a call, and you know, they might have got another job by then or moved on, and potentially they have, but some people are just open to that right opportunity. They're perfectly happy where they are, they're well rewarded, well remunerated, but if the perfect role comes up with more travel or less travel or better salary or more flexibility, then they'll look for that and appreciate the call.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more that relationship is over. One of the things I do say to people is they are looking at Seek, and if there is a contact on there, you know, for more information, contact Jenny or whatever. Rather than just submit your application, I would say pick up the phone and speak to the person. Just ask them, think of a question that hasn't been covered by the ad. And, you know, I'm just about to submit my application, but I wanted to have a chat to you about X. And I think that might help if you're actually getting through to someone and talking to them. I don't know what you think, but...
Just getting through, I mean, you know, I get calls a lot, and if someone calls you for a senior role, and again, a lot of those senior roles I don't advertise now, because I know people, I've got a good network, but often you put an advert on Seek or LinkedIn because you never know, you might get someone relocating from the UK or the US or Asia that might be fantastic and might just want to be moved back to Australia or come to Australia. Or we're seeing a lot of Kiwis and Aussies coming back from London at the moment with Brexit and the like. So people that sort of say, look, been in the UK earning pounds for the last 10 years and the time's right to move back with my family and set up in Melbourne or Sydney. So we're seeing that. So it's always good to reach out and talk with people, but obviously for you know, agents are on the other side, we're getting lots and lots of calls, but for us that's the job, and I'd rather people reach out to me and call me. And you know, obviously LinkedIn now, I get a lot of messages through LinkedIn, a lot of people calling and messaging through LinkedIn, and as long as your profile's up to date, and you know, you've got a picture on there and you've got your job details on there, and I've got this a bit further in the conversation, you know, make sure that your LinkedIn details match with your CV. See so many people that say, oh, I've done this, this and this, and you say, well, it says to date, when did you actually leave? Oh, I left last year. Well, your LinkedIn's wrong, and if your CV doesn't match with your LinkedIn, people are going to say, well, where have they been for the last 6-12 months? I'd rather people see a career break or relocating from London to Melbourne or whatever it might be, rather than just, you know, the dates, you know, elongate. But yeah, I agree. To people, but again, another thing is go to networking events. There's plenty of things on meetup.com. Get out there, meet some people, you know, look them in the whites of the eyes, press the flesh. There's no substitute for actually meeting people, and that's where meeting a recruiter is you know, better than Seek or LinkedIn. You can actually physically see someone and talk with someone. And again, my team will laugh at me when they watch this back, but no one ever hide a bit of paper. You know, it's one of my great sayings. You know, you send people a CV. You only get so much from the CV, and you only get so much from the position description. Our job as recruiters is to put the two people together. If you send your CV by Seek, the client might say they haven't got this, they haven't got that, they haven't got the other. But if we're actually engaging with the client and the client says they haven't got this, oh no, they have, it's not on the CV because we want the CV to be not, you know, 75 pages long, and they've got this and they've got great stakeholder engagement skills, you can't get that from a CV. Then the client and the candidate have a coffee or have an interview, and suddenly they're the perfect person for the job.
Yeah, so that's a good segue. So what are some of the common mistakes you see when people are submitting applications?
Look, again, this is my experience. It depends on, obviously, you know, different things around what people do, but I recommend people having one CV, you know, curriculum vitae Latin for your life, you know, resume or CV. It's what you've done. So a lot of people say, you know, do you want my ITSM CV or my change management OCM CV, or do you want my program director CV, or do you want my management CV? Suddenly they've got about 7 CVs or resumes, and that makes it really difficult interviews to remember which CV, which resume did I send to this client. So keep your CV, your resume as one, and then write a cover letter to address the key selection criteria for each role. That way, you can sort of say, look, this is what I've done, and I've drawn out from my cover letter my key selection criteria. the skills and attributes I bring to this particular role. And that might be skills and attributes from your current role or your last role or the role 3 years ago. But that, that might be your management skills, or it's 3 years ago you didn't use digital, but you can draw out your management skills, your stakeholder engagement, your BPO skills, and then craft something together that will hopefully whet their appetite enough for them to bring you in to meet you. So, there's lots of different conflicting advice on your CV. Some people come in and say, I was advised to cut my CV down to 2 pages. Some people say it should be 1 page, which is sort of the American version. I tend to find for IT people, 4 to 6 pages is enough. If it goes longer than that, will people read it? But I've seen some CVs that are 30 pages long, and that's probably a little bit long, but the 30-page CV, you'd be surprised. It's interesting to see clients read CVs. I actually like to go and, probably not very good for the environment. I like to print the CV off and say to the client, read the CV. Some clients read the first page and then say, doesn't grab my attention, not interested. Some of them turn to the back page and look at the back page and look where they've come from. So they say, oh, this lady did COBOL Pix back in 1996, and we've got a COBOL Pix AS400 system kicking around, and that's pretty useful to have that knowledge and skill because it's still there and they're an IT manager, so they need to know. So it's interesting how people look at that progression. Did they progress through development or infrastructure or project management or applications? So if someone's done SAP for 10, 15 years, that could be useful if they're on the SAP suite. But again, as I mentioned before and alluded to, I think the world of the propeller has changed, and it's more about stakeholder engagement and vendor management rather than people that know the technical bits and bytes. So that's kind of changing. So I recommend to people, your CV is what you've done in the past, but put on there additional detail and narrative, particularly in the most recent roles. I'm not really bothered what you did in 2005 to 2000. That's old news. I'm interested in the most recent roles, probably the last 3 to 5 years, but particularly the last 1 or 2 roles. And if you've only been in one role for the last 5 years, I want to see that career progression. If you've been in the same role, what else have you done that's different? Have you brought a digital strategy? Have you done anything in an agile way? Have you bought or helped with the new target operating model for the business? Have you, done H1, H2, H3 horizons for IT to link with the new business target operating model and business strategy? They're the things that people want, particularly from senior leaders. So, what was your CapEx, your OpEx? How many direct and indirect reports did you have? What technologies have you used to be familiar with, whether you're hands-on or hands-off? So it can really help to do that. And my advice to people is, if you speak with 10 different recruiters, you get 10 different answers or advice on what to do. So you've got to take each one on its merits and then say, well, Louis has come up with some good advice and his colleague at Ranstad has come up with some other advice. But share your CV with other friends and colleagues and industry people, like, share it with Karen at McCanter and ask, those industry people, if my CV came across your desk, would you hire me? And you might say, I think you're really good at this, and it's not in the CV. Oh yeah, I forgot about that, and put it in. And over time, and speaking with people, you'll get a document that you're happy with that will basically get you an interview. And as soon as you get the interview, then it's obviously a different skill set to see if you're going to get the role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned the interview. So my application got noticed. I get called to the interview. What advice you give me, or anyone who's about to go to the interview? Because it's quite stressful, isn't it?
Look, it's very stressful, yeah. But it's what people have got to remember. It's normal to be nervous. People are nervous at interviews. They're designed, in that short period of time, an hour, to put you under a bit of pressure and see if you've got the mettle to do the job, and put you under a little bit of stress. So, I've met candidates that enjoy interviewing, but most people, it's a bit of a hassle and stress. And so I think for most people, you've got to be prepared. Preparation is key. For anything that's difficult in life, perfect preparation and perfect practice make perfect, but you've got to practice. So these days, everyone's got you've got a camera, Google Hangouts, do a Google Hangout, ask your significant other, your partner or a friend, or if not, get your phone and set it up. So I've got some really good interview preparation material, which if people email me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to share. I usually use that with my candidates, and I feel if people go through me rather than another agency through Ranstad, they're significantly more prepared. You know, I'm a pretty tough taskmaster. I've been in this game a long time. So I ask people to prepare, and I ask them questions, you know, typical things like when you go in there, first question, what do you know about the company? But if you go in and you sort of say, I don't really know what you do, I've looked at the website, straight away it's a big strike. You're not prepared. So you've got to know in depth what the company does, how many offices they've got, what products and services they offer, what the share price is if they're ASX listed. Have a look through the remuneration report, have a look through the financial report within the you know, annual report. It's freely available information you can look through, so you'll know most of the info. And I think most candidates that I brief before an interview, they're so well prepared that the interview panel is like, wow, this guy or lady knows more about the company than I do. What a powerful position to be in, because then you could start firing questions back to them about, I read in the annual report and the CFO and COO said this about the new target operating model. And if they're not on the ball and they don't know, the candidate almost turns the interview around to say, well, these guys don't really know their business as well as they should do. And is that an organisation I want to join? Is that an organisation that I want to contribute to? So I think you can be pretty savvy in turning those interviews around. And you know, again, I see interviews as exactly that. They're two-way. You know, the war for talent currently is such that candidates have got choices. So that, you know, it's not all on the employer's terms. If you want good talent, they'll have 3 or 4 offers or interviews on the table. So it's got to be the right, you know, right for them as well.
Absolutely, and I think that's such a good piece of advice. You know, having interviewed myself, as soon as you say what you know about the company and you get that blank look, you might as well end the conversation then, because it's saying the person isn't really interested. Whereas if they can say, well, you're established and wherever, and I know you've got this many employees and you're expanding into this market, that just says so much to the interviewer that they really want to work for this. They look like they want to work for this company because they've done their homework. So I would just resonate that piece of advice to everybody. Just do some homework. Don't walk in and expect because of what you've done in the past that it's, you know, you're going to get the jobs.
Yeah, but these days it's pretty easy to do your research. So again, when I'm prepping candidates for an interview, I'm quite a tough taskmaster, but I will go onto LinkedIn and the people that are interviewing, it's a panel of 3 or 4. I'll send the LinkedIn, the actual URL to their LinkedIn, and I'll copy and paste their photograph if there's one on, because then when the candidate gets the interview prep, they've got on there, you know, the time and date of the interview, where it is, directions, parking, all that sort of good stuff around getting there. So that they're there, because there's nothing worse than getting there under pressure because you can't find a parking space or can't find the entrance to the building. So all that's done in. Get there 15 minutes before. Don't smoke before you go in. You know, make sure you're clean. Make sure you don't smell of body odor. All the basic stuff. If your hand sweats, you know, make sure you have a paper towel or a handkerchief in your pocket so that you can wipe your hand before you go in. Make sure it's a nice firm handshake, not a stick of carrots that you put out and you've got a sweaty hand. Make the right first impression. All those good things, and then you're prepared. You've got a copy of your resume, you've got a copy of the job description, you highlighted it, you've made your notes, you've got your questions written down, so that when they ask you what questions have you got, you can say, well, look, as you know, I'm well prepared, I know what your organisation does, and the reason I want to work for you is X, Y, and Z. But tell me, what is the corporate culture? What are the opportunities for progression for my career? And then you turn the conversation around. So again, that preparation is absolutely key. You know, going on LinkedIn, doing the research, and also that LinkedIn thing's pretty good from leaving a footprint. You know, people will look on LinkedIn and they'll say, "Oh, yeah, you know, Kaz has got an interview with you tomorrow, and she's looked at my LinkedIn profile." That's good news to an employer because they know that you're interested and you're doing your research. So, little tip: always look at their LinkedIn profile and leave a footprint so they can see that you've been looking at them.
Absolutely, that's I think a diamond of information or tip to do that. Yeah, leave that footprint on LinkedIn. I think that's great. So, Louis, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure people are going to take away some, you know, real insights into where the market's going at the moment, and you know what avenues they can use to look at jobs, and especially, you know, preparing the application, the cover letter, and the interview process. All great insights. And just remind those who are listening, you said that you've got some preparation material you're happy to share, so if they seek you out on LinkedIn?
Yeah, just check me out on LinkedIn. You'll see it's Louis, L-O-U-I-S, Spence. You should see me on there on LinkedIn. And if sort of people drop me an email or connect on LinkedIn saying, send me some interview preparation material, I'm happy to do that. And I think, one just other thing, final thing to mention, Ranstad Technologies and Ranstad in general invest a lot in innovation. We've got an innovation fund, and we're seeing lots of now new technology products and services that are adding to that. It's no longer just a paper-based CV. So we've got things like Sonru video interviewing and Video My Job for employers to actually, interview, say, this is the boardroom and this is the office environment, this is the project you'll be working on. We also use things like Checkster for, doing reference checking. And there's also another organisation called Puffling, which have recently we've invested in, and they've just launched, and that's offering part-time jobs for people that want to get back in the workforce. So I'd say mainly for women, but nowadays it's men equally that are coming back into the workforce. That the main parent or childcare person, and they want to work 2 and 3 days a week. This gig economy, the world of work is changing, and people want to work. Work-life balance is massively important. The Ranstad employer branding research that we've just done shows that people work-life balance is the #1 priority. So people want to work 2 and 3 days a week. It's not all about money, and therefore technology will play a much greater role, I think, in the world of work.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And just the fact that I was just doing a bit of writing today and just looking at talking about digital, but which isn't new. Anything like agile's not new. But just how it's changing the work environment, and the chances are people do not work in the office with their colleagues 9 to 5. That would be rare. That could be scattered across the world. So, how do we manage to collaborate and communicate? It's about using all those new technologies and leveraging, the digital world to work as teams and to be able to collaborate and communicate, and the different interpersonal skills that are probably needed to work across different cultures and geographies and times.
Video conferencing, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that brings its own challenges, with activity-based working. If people aren't in the office, how do you measure their output? It's based on output. If the outputs are there, who cares if they're working from the beach? And in Melbourne, we're lucky enough to have a beach. And if you're working from the beach, but you're making your numbers or you're giving the output, why not let people work from where they want to work? And our CEO at Ranstad, Frank Rabu, is very big on that. It's very much, if you got the output and you're hitting your targets, work from anywhere. So I think that's really good from Randstad's point of view, is letting people come in and work from wherever, as long as the output's there, then fantastic.
Absolutely, and that's a leadership mindset shift for a lot of people. So we can talk about another half an hour about that.
Organisational change management skills will come in to say this. It's no longer about FaceTime from 8:30 till 6:30. It's more, change their mindsets as the guys to say this is what it's about now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Louis, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope we'll catch up again soon, but thank you for joining me on Karen's Conversations. It's been great.
Thank you very much, and have a great day. Thanks a lot, Kaz.
You too.
Thanks. Cheers. Have a good day.